Well, welcome to the Gary Neville podcast on an eventful evening at Old Trafford. Gary, where to start? How about we start with the red card? We don't see incidents like that too often. Only the third time in the Premier League that a player's been sent off for, inverted commas, fighting their own teammates. Thoughts on that to begin with?
Should we start with the worst decision of the weekend? Me agreeing to do a second podcast yesterday, thinking United were going to go for. Yeah, of course it will be nice. That let the traffic go. Talk about United are back. The red card. I'm torn between the referee making the right decision by the letter of the law. He's obviously slapped his own player. Whether you slap your own player or an opposition player, then that point around, is it negligible, subjective, versus I just felt like it could have been avoided and it could have been one that I think a yellow card, everyone would have said, okay, I get on with it. The thing is, I think that actually the problem maybe for Idrissa Gueye was that he had gone, hadn't he? His head had gone a little bit. Now, I think it went more after the red card appeared, because I think he realised then what had happened. But yeah, an odd situation, something that's never nice to see. We've seen it only a couple of times or so in history of Premier League football. So very unusual, but it wasn't like a massive scrap where you think, right, get them both off. It was just a little bit of a tap, wasn't it? It was like the edge of his sort of fingers, and yeah. Didn't have the best view of it either, so you're thinking to yourself, well, how much of a slap was it? But look, he's given the referee a decision to make. He's right on top of it, the referee, and he put his team, you would have imagined, in a very bad position, but didn't quite work out like that.
I mean, you feared for Everton at that point. They'd made a strong start in the game, but after that, they were fantastic, starting with the goal from Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great goal, but that first 12 minutes, you're right, they were really good. They were authoritative from the beginning. They were quicker to the ball. They pushed high up the pitch. They were pressing well. United never got going in that first 12 minutes, but like you say, the red card, you're thinking, okay, how are Manchester United going to play? But I just thought that it was a mixture from Everton of really good defending, really good shape, really good energy, frustrated United, but also I thought that when they got on the ball through Ndiaye, Dewsbury Hall and Grealish, and Barry up front being a bit of a sort of battering ram and someone who flicked it on, I thought they did really well. I thought Garner was fantastic in midfield. They all took the ball. They didn't just pump it forward. They were a bit back to the wall in the second half, as you'd expect, but I thought after the red card in the first half, they played some really good stuff, particularly down here in front of us through Ndiaye, and look, they deserved the goal. I mean, it was coming. There was a couple of minutes before that where Dewsbury Hall, I think, had got involved as well. He cuts inside, he puts it into, I'm not going to say the far corner because it wasn't. I thought the goalkeeper probably should have done better with it. But look, they deserved it, Everton. I thought that they were absolutely magnificent in that first half after the red card to respond to what is quite a challenging situation. Not just going down to 10 men, but the way in which you've gone down to 10 men, which can, to be fair, I mean, the rails, you can basically, you can fall apart after something like that, and they didn't do. I thought they were fantastic from a mentality perspective, a shape perspective, a physical perspective, a defensive. They were absolutely brilliant. I have not got enough words for how Everton played tonight. And those Everton fans that we can hear in that far corner that are being kept in, they should be unbelievably and will be and are unbelievably proud tonight, because they've seen some bad performances here down the years. I've seen some Everton teams come here and wilt. So poor, beaten before they actually even get out of the tunnel, because they're so deep in the game, so back foot, so glass half empty. And you've seen tonight from the first minute that back four pushed up, they were ready for it. They fancied it a little bit, and they fancied it a lot more than those red shirts. And David Moyes, obviously someone who's never beaten Manchester United at Old Trafford, has finally done it in quite unexpected circumstances. Unexpected before the game that you thought they were going to win, but certainly unexpected having gone down to 10 men. So, yeah, you talk about Everton. I watched them a few weeks ago at, unless at Goodison Park then. At Goodison Park. I'm going to carry on calling it Goodison Park. The Hill Dickinson Stadium. Yeah, it's a couple of weeks ago at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. A few weeks ago at Hill Dickinson Stadium against Tottenham, and not a lot happened for them on that day. It was a difficult day for them, but tonight, it's a magical night, absolutely memorable. And like I say, there's 3,000 or 4,000 of those Everton fans over in that far corner who are going to go back to Merseyside tonight and be absolutely buzzing.
Well, there's a lot fewer Manchester United supporters in the ground. Now the hard bit about their display tonight. You were particularly frustrated during the commentary about Amorim's reaction to the situation and not maybe the substitutions, the positioning of players?
Well, look, we can start with the manager, but I think we must start with the players. You have to, when you're playing football at the Premier League, I'm not even going to say at Manchester United, I'm just going to say at Premier League and professional level, you've got to adapt to the circumstances within the game. In the first half, I mentioned it looked as if they'd not planned how to play with 10 men. And I'm probably, to be fair, letting them off the hook, the players there, with regards to, well, it's pretty damn obvious, isn't it, how you play with 10 men? You shift the ball you shift the ball quicker, you shift it from side to side, you switch play, you stretch the pitch and make it as big as possible, and this pitch always feels big at Old Trafford. You make sure that you literally run the other team ragged. Manchester United kept, at times, 3 and 4 and 5 players, maybe not behind the ball, but maybe behind, well, just a one Everton player with Barry up front. The 3 at the back had to form differently. They had to change. Now, that doesn't mean to say, I know that Ruben Amorim has said he'll never change his 3 at the back system. I get it, but I'm sorry. Luke Shaw has to go forward and play like a left winger. He has to. Bring Euro round with De Ligt. Make sure that they mark Barry. Snuff him out. One of you pick him up. Get tight. One of you drop off behind. Make sure he doesn't get the ball. And Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes move forward. Make sure you don't play again too deep. And the rest of the players, to be fair, make sure you try and create some form of overload. I mean, I played here as 10 men a lot of times. And quite simply, you would never see me back. I'd be literally as wide as possible with either David Beckham or Antonio Valencia or Cristiano Ronaldo on that right-hand side. And Ryan Giggs and Dennis Irwin or Patrice Evra would be as wide as possible on this side. And you'd leave basically Scholes in there, literally switching play, which Bruno Fernandes can do, and you'd have that 4 in midfield of Everton charging from side to side, and eventually you work them, you fatigue their legs, you get bodies in the box. Manchester United left 1 man up front all night in Xerxes. They had to have 2 up. Just forget the 2 up from a point of view of changing your system, Ruben. 2 up from a point of view of when there's crosses going in the box, you've got presence. You know, I know that Tarkowski and Keane, what you're trying to do with Tarkowski and Keane, he's not asking necessarily for players to go and beat them in the air, because they're better than probably Manchester United's players that were on the pitch. What you're asking to do is occupy them. You're occupying the centre-backs. And I'm going to go back and say, let's pretend that's Cole and York. They're not going to beat 2 giant centre-halves in the air, but they can occupy the centre-backs, which means that someone else can maybe make a run in and get the goal. Casemiro or whoever. And I just thought United was so pedestrian and so negative, having gone to 10 men. You've got to flood forward. It's got to be like the Alamo when you're playing against 10 men. And they still kept this 3 at the back. All right, Luke Shaw ambled forward a little bit. I was particularly harsh on Luke Shaw, less so on Euro, because Euro is a centre-back. Luke Shaw's not a centre-back. Luke Shaw is a left-back who can go forward and go forward well, and actually's got a good left foot. So you be the one who dominates and goes forward on that left-hand side. Euro comes round a little bit. You don't want him on this right-hand channel in the ball, which we saw for so much in the second half. And he's just playing passes. He's not capable of doing that. That's not his game. So I was harder on Shaw. I thought Shaw was so disappointing in the second half. I thought the substitution, and I'm riffing now, in no particular order as I feel it. Bringing Dalot on that far side and blocking that side off. I know Dorgu was having a tough night. He wasn't great at all. But at least he's got a left foot. But putting Dalot on meant that all of a sudden that he's having to turn back the way on his right foot and play around. Now, he's a capable player, Diogo Dalot. He's not a left wing back though. He's not a left winger. He's finding himself as a left winger. Dalot is not a left winger. And I just think the only player that I could say that maybe had anything about him, Ahmad showed a little glimpse of something. It was nowhere near good enough. That was a really bad night for United. It was an embarrassment at times.
Have you touched on part of the issue, though, a personnel issue perhaps? They weren't able to have those substitutes to bring on that could... You mentioned the likes of Ronaldo and Beckham and Valencia. They don't have those players available to them all.
I wasn't referring to those players in terms of quality, and they should be. I was referring about the actual positions that the players who were out there should have been in. Look, they've got injuries. Šeško's injured, Cunha's injured, but forget that. There's no excuses tonight, by the way. I'm not entertaining that one bit. You know, you think about Everton's squad. They lost Seamus Coleman after 1 minute, 2 minutes. They had a man sent off. No excuses. Let's not start that game. I think we need to be very careful. Look, United have got players missing, but so has every other club. Everton dominated them with 11 men and with 10 men in a different way of domination, but they dominated them through their fight and their spirit. I thought that was a Manchester United team tonight who have come here off the back of a decent run, a decent sort of international break between October and November, and maybe we've all fallen into that trap of just thinking United are back, there's a bit of expectancy, they're going to go up to 4th or 5th in the league, level with Villa, they're going to be 21 points, they're going to be ahead of Liverpool, we're all thinking it. Let's be clear, let's be honest with ourselves, why wouldn't we think it? You're playing against Everton, who we ordinarily, to be fair, beat here, and it's complacency, and complacency will kill you. The minute that you think, as a football player, that you just have to turn up on that pitch and you're Manchester United and you can play, or any football club, you're done. And they've turned up tonight off the back of an international break. They've had a full 5-6 days break all together. It's been perfect. You couldn't ask for any more. There's no international football that's interfered with this build-up. There's no European football for them. They've had the perfect amount of time to really prepare for this match. And it's as if they've imagined in their heads they're going to be in the Champions League places. And they've thought that maybe before the game. And it just smelt of complacency. From minute one, actually. They weren't at it from the beginning. I mean, that first 12 minutes before Idrissa Gueye got sent off, Everton were by far the better team. Quicker to the ball, sharper, more positive, looked have more intent about them. And that is a bad one for United. And look, I actually think they've been a lot better in the last few weeks. I think that probably takes us back to Brentford away. And you can't go from here, good standards, and the fight that they showed in certain games in that period between Liverpool, the Liverpool game, the Forest game, the Tottenham game. You can't go from that to that. It erodes confidence. It erodes trust. It erodes trust. We're trying to build a trust in a manager. We're trying to build a trust in a team. And tonight, the fans have left that game. I mean, they booed collectively at the end. It was a loud, and rightly so. I mean, that was a really poor performance. But it erodes trust, and tonight you lose a lot again. It's almost as if you've gone sort of like 2 or 3 steps forward, everyone's feeling a little bit better about themselves, and you've just gone back to the start again. And look,